In a new low in the handling of the Afghanistan crisis, Joe Biden, speaking about Hurricane Ida, refused to take questions about the biggest international crisis America has faced for decades. Take a look.
I'm not supposed to take any questions, but go ahead.
Mr. President, on Afghanistan...
I'm not going to answer Afghanistan now.
Can you see if there's still an acute
Okay.
risk?
I'm not going to answer Afghanistan, no. Extraordinary. There was no accountability with this man. You can see that question angered him as he slapped his hand on the podium dismissively. Well, he can be as angry as he likes. He's not as angry as the mother of a Marine killed in the evacuation, who had the following withering assessment. He is, she said, a feckless, dementia-ridden piece of crap. Not words I would use, but you can understand her anger. If that press conference wasn't bad enough, remember, this guy is always a no-show when faced with the tough questions. He is no-show Joe. This gaffe-prone president, in my view, is the most dangerous president in modern political history. And frankly, he could barely conceal his boredom as he attended a ceremony for fallen US soldiers. Watch this. Just check his watch there. See what time it is. Or what year, frankly. Look at that. That's damning, isn't it? He was either checking his watch for the time, maybe the date, or perhaps he was worried about missing his favourite TV programme, Sesame Street. Either way, it's not a good look. Many say that this man will not fight the presidential election in 3 years' time. Well, frankly, I don't give him 3 months at this rate. In my view, he lacks the judgment, the intelligence and the cognitive health with which to deal with this ensuing crisis. And let's check in, shall we, with how it's going with the new look, nicer, friendlier Taliban. You know, plant-based, woke Taliban 2.0. Here you go. Ground News, the news website, report a folk singer was dragged out of his house and shot dead by the Taliban after they banned music. Truly shocking stuff. Meanwhile, here is footage of a newsreader with a couple of thugs behind him with rifles slung over their shoulder. Check out this video.
آقای غنیم از افغانستان فرار کرده و در افغانستان عده‌ای که منتقد اشرف غنی هستند میگویند که رئیس جمهور فراری و مردم تنها گذاشت و
Welcome to hell. I wonder how the BBC's Hugh Edwards would feel working under those circumstances. Have you seen enough yet? Whether we like it or not, America's president is the world's president. And we need a clear-eyed, brave leadership from the US as we deal with the consequences of the catastrophic Allied withdrawal. In many ways, the crisis has only just begun. Britain won't be safe, America won't be safe, and the world will not be safe until there's someone in the White House that's actually up to the job. Now, don't take my word for it. The former commander of British troops in Afghanistan, Colonel Richard Kemp, says the UK now faces its biggest terror threat in years. That's why this matters. And it doesn't stop there. There are now reports breaking that North Korea have restarted a nuclear reactor that's believed to have produced plutonium for nuclear weapons, according to the UN. So do you see why leadership is so critical at this point in our history? Leadership that, from the mask-loving high priest of progressive politics, Joe Biden, is so sorely lacking. No-show Joe has got to go. Now, if you thought the police rainbow cars last week were a step too far, there you go, there's one of them in action. The Mail newspaper are reporting that the London Metropolitan Police, seemingly the most virtue-signalling police force on the planet, are floating the idea of gender-neutral uniforms for their staff. Is this all they think about? Are they not worried about burglaries, domestic violence, muggings, knife crime, sexual assaults and murder? It seems their greatest priority is to perpetuate the heavily contested concept of gender ideology, which denies the very existence of biological sex, the idea that you're born a man or a woman. Somehow, in crazy 2021, this is now up for debate. We should welcome trans men and women into the force and into every part of our society. I couldn't be more pro-trans and have many pals who have been on that positive and important journey. And the right to be recognised as the gender by which you identify is sacred in my view. But last time I checked, trans men and trans women have access to men and women's police uniforms. So it's not a trouble, it's not a problem. And it's not the job of any police force to airbrush over and wipe out the idea that you are born male or female. For the country's preeminent police force, to challenge this is an attack on basic science and a crime against common sense. And all of this nonsense is a profound insult to anyone who has been a victim of actual crime and someone that's failed to receive justice. I consider us to have the best police in the world, but right now they seem embarked on a policy of extreme political correctness at the expense of safer streets, which is their job and what we pay them to do. I'm afraid to say PC plod has lost the plot, and it's got to stop. The Mail newspaper are reporting Boris Johnson has said he will tolerate up to 50,000 deaths from COVID per year before considering future restrictions. Here's the story in the Mail. Now, while that figure is awful and tragic, and let's hope to God it doesn't happen, this policy is sensible because that figure is similar to the potential death toll in a bad flu outbreak. And bad flu deaths in the past have always been widely accepted by the public and the NHS as a sad reality. Though I've been disappointed by the Prime Minister's willingness to roll over to the doomsday scientists for the last year and a half, causing such enormous societal, economic and health damage, my view of the blonde bombshell has changed in the last couple of months. He was urged by the opposition and sage scientists to cancel Freedom Day on the 19th of July. It was called reckless by Sir Keir Starmer, to name but one. It turns out it would have been reckless not to. In the end, it was much ado about nothing Freedom Day. No terrifying spike in cases, as predicted, 100,000, 200,000 a day. And since the 19th of July, the public have had a chance to start living their lives again, to restore their mental and physical health, and of course to contribute to our economic recovery. We're told today that Rishi Sunak, the Chancellor, is in a battle with the NHS over funding in order to catch up on the lost months of treatment, another consequence of lockdown. Well, that's fine. I'm pretty sure the NHS will need more money, as will the justice system, the police, and I would argue we should keep up the uptick in universal credit. It's got to stay, in my view. There will be more welfare demands, more unemployed people, more mental health services required, again, due to lockdown. It's all money, money, money. And how do you get that? How do you get money, do you reckon? Well, you know as well as I do. You require a healthy, growing economy. And you can't do that with COVID restrictions and lockdowns. We have a new pandemic of poverty, inequality and social deprivation, which is why more lockdowns and COVID restrictions should be the last thing that voices on the left are asking for. But of course they are. So pick a side, folks. As cases inevitably rise this autumn and winter, you can either have more scientifically debatable lockdowns or mandates for those wretched masks which Professor Carl Hennigan of Oxford University has called not evidence-based, and we can watch the country get poorer. Or we accept that this dreadful, sometimes very nasty and highly transmissible virus isn't going anywhere, and that the economic and societal health of the country is now a greater priority. We never stopped the world for diseases before. We are now paying the price for doing just that. The headlines about the price of lockdown will come thick and fast in the days, months and years ahead. Get used to it, folks. Professor Jay Bhattacharya from Stanford Medical School in California, one of the most renowned medics on the planet, has called lockdowns, and I paraphrase, the biggest public health cock-up in human history. I tend to agree. I won't forget the damage of what we've done and those who have been its cheerleaders, all of whom now want more money from the state to clear up a mess of their making. But I will forgive what we've done, and I will heap praise on the Prime Minister and his government if they make sure that on their watch it never happens again. Virus gonna virus, I'm afraid. Armed with the vaccine and the immunity enjoyed by the millions who have had the virus, they've had COVID, it's absolutely time for Britain to end the war on COVID-19. And it's time for us to get on with the rest of our lives.